Hey, what's happening, guys, ladies, gentlemen, whatever you want to call yourselves today? We are ready to talk a little NBA DFS. Cheers over to you, Mr. Bellman. Had a customer with a real good night last night. We'll talk about that momentarily. We came up five likes short of the 200 we were looking for the members only. But I'm not going to be that big of a dick. We're going to roll this obviously out for you guys today. All the public gets this one. We got a massive slate tonight. I believe it's 11 games, if my memory serves me correctly. Three or four really good games from a DFS perspective. I'm excited to talk this one over with you. Let's try to get that money tonight.
Let's get it.
So, a couple things to review before we actually get into the plays on the slate. So, wanted to just say thank you to all the customers for the nice things to saying. Will Holcomb telling us, purchased the NBA yearly pass a couple of weeks ago, already won back the cost of it. But most importantly, woke up to this lovely email this morning from one of our customers. I wanted to say thank you to you and Matt for helping me take down the 75K FanDuel tourney last night. I used some of your picks, generated 23 lineups, took that 5 core. Michael Jordan. The funny thing is I purchased your NBA package on Christmas Eve, but this is the first night I played NBA DFS. He got first and second place, so won himself over $20,000 last night. So congratulations. That is one hell of a night. Glad that we could be a part of helping it, and I'm glad Juancho Hernan-Gomez played as well as he did in the first half to get you there because he had himself a hell of a day.
Yes, he did. Definitely helped me have a couple really nice finishes, so congrats, man. It's a hell of a night, that's for damn sure. I don't know how much that tournament is because I haven't been playing much on FanDuel, but nice job, brother.
Yeah, over 20 grand's a good day for anybody, unless, you're Warren Buffett or something like that. I'm definitely not, so I am a little bit jealous myself over here, guys. And if you want to come play with us, just go to the website link. The website link is down below. We're in a good mood this Wednesday, so what we're going to do for a special today, anybody who, just grabs their dollars and buys the lifetime package today, which is $400, I will send you a $100 rebate, giving you a 25% off deal. That's no future payments ever. That takes care of NFL, NBA, Matt's favorite baseball. You name it, it is covered. I'll never ask you for another dollar. That'll get you in permanently. We've been doing this for years and years and years now, so we ain't going anywhere. $100 discount today on the lifetime package, and let's continue to get after it. And I'm excited to break this one down, my man.
Yeah, me too, bro. Bunch of good spots. Starting with the first game, which I have a couple pieces I really like, man. So
before we get into that, actually, I gotta say, we are looking, and I have taken some phone calls already. We are going to be working with some new advertisers moving forward. So anybody out here who may be interested in that, you know how we've been doing the shout outs and the start of videos and stuff like that for a while now. We'll be moving to new advertisers. If anybody wants to talk about that off screen, just hit me up in my DMs, Twitter, email, anything like that so we can discuss. Now on to the first game, and I'm with you. There's definitely some plays in this one I like.
So the first play, one of my favorite plays on the slate is Victor Oladipo.
I'm with you on that one. I've been talking about Depot for many slates in a row. He killed it in overtime the other game. 46, 34, 35, 43, 37. Like, I love a high floor play like this. Like, there's so much room for improvement, too, because, like, Brogdon's killed it the last 2 games. Brogdon has a bad game, and Depot does better. Like, he made his shots last game when he hadn't been before, but we know, like, Depot's a guy who can give you 3-4 steals in a game. One of these days he's going to throw out a 10-assist game. He's going to go for over 30 real-life points one of these days. He's available at the 2 and the 3. There's a lot to like here.
Yeah, he's like strolling into these, 42, 35. He's not hardly breaking the sweat getting those games. One of these games, the big game's coming in a good spot here in which would be a competitive game. Two teams that, Indiana's probably the better team right now, but, the past few years, Houston's been the better team. Talent for talent, it's probably even. I think as far as games go, this could be one of the better games on the night.
If you just look strictly on your Vegas odds, this is a game that's projected for about 225 points in a -2, which means it's supposed to be competitive. Now, you know what? We've seen weird things all year, right? Like, we saw Minnesota get red hot against Denver last night and just be the better team for a quarter and a half. Now, Denver won the game. We saw the Spurs get up a huge lead on the Clippers, and the Clippers come fighting back. Like, sometimes those games get lopsided. The same thing happened in the late game last night, where Portland was hitting step-back threes the entire first quarter, almost ran the Bulls out of the building. They made it close. Sometimes those things end up being blowouts, but I'm with you on this one. We can only evaluate based on what we have, and I expect this to be a good basketball game.
Yep. So Oladipo's my favorite piece of this game, like by far. I like the Indiana pieces more than I like the Houston pieces.
Agreed.
But obviously if Harden's out, that changes everything, or if someone happens to be out.
Is there any rumblings on Harden being out?
No, just like me thinking about it out loud. I will say, though, even with Harden in, like, John Wall did not have a good game last time out, but I have no problem going right back there.
Well, he was terrible in the first stretch of the first quarter, and once Harden was playing, you didn't really know what was going to happen in this game. I could see that. I don't think he'll make my point guard list tonight because there's a lot of guys on this one. I'm still trying to figure Houston out and who they are, and Indiana's not a top matchup. They're not the worst thing in the world, but they're not a top matchup. I'm just confused on Houston currently, which is why I'm not saying Wall or Wood or Harden won't ball. I just don't know what to think. So an 11-game slate, it's hard for me to like hone in on the Rockets.
I agree. My two favorite pieces from this game have got to be Depot and Sabonis. I mean, what else is new?
Well, and if you just want to ride a red-hot Brogdon, I get that. He's been awesome the last two games. I probably feel like this is the game I'd rather use Depot or Sabonis. But he's been on fire. No TJ Warren for a while, so that really does up his necessity in this offense. We know he can play. I prefer Depot and Sabonis, but I don't hate Malcolm Brogdon.
I agree.
So I think we see this one the same. The three guys I was looking at in this game were Sabonis, Oladipo, and Brogdon. I don't hate Miles Turner. I don't hate an Aaron Holiday if you're trying to get a little lucky that he gets hot from three, but it's those three are the guys I'm looking at mainly.
Yeah, same.
So I will say this about Malcolm Brogdon versus John Wall. Like, Brogdon's floor to me is a little bit higher because he's more needed and he doesn't have to play basketball with James Harden. But John Wall owns all the same upside that we've seen. This is a team trying to figure its way out. I'm with you. Like, this is not a spot where I'm ever surprised if all of a sudden Harden's knee hurts or something like that.
Yeah, that's all it is. In an optimal line, though, I'm with you. Probably wouldn't get more than one of those Pacers we talked about.
Miles Turner's another one. He would be like the fourth or fifth Pacer I would look at, but it's not insane. Because Christian Wood, as much as we like him for DFS, he ain't playing no sense of defense. I could see Turner coming out of nowhere with like a 40-point night tonight.
I agree with that. I like that call.
More of a GPP play. He's coming off a bad game, guys, but he had major foul trouble all day long. He did put up 28 DK points in 23 minutes, and he is more of a 33-minute per game guy. And if you just projected that out, I know that it's not the way it works, but he's more of like a 40-point game right there.
For sure.
And that's why I probably won't be using Christian Wood tonight as long as James Harden's in. And Turner's a good defender too. I just don't think it's a spot I love.
I think Wood's basically in play any slate because he's in a really good spot with Harden and Wall. But this is not a slate I'm like going out of my way to get him.
Yeah, and one of these days too, like Cousins is going to come in and play really, really well, and Wood might lose 2, 3, 4 minutes or something like that.
He got ejected last game, Cousins did.
Yeah, he did. Like 3 minutes into the game?
Yeah, like to be honest, I would take a shot on Andre Drummond before I'd go to Christian Wood personally.
Get that. Speaking of Andre Drummond, we move over to Cleveland. The Cavaliers taking on the Magic tonight. This one calls for currently a projected game total of about 215. Orlando favored to win this game by 6. Not a game that jumps off the screen as far as, a monster place for DFS points. Now, we got a couple of good centers right here in Vucevic and Drummond. I don't hate either of them, but I don't think like either of them get to, I'm there in my ideal lineup.
I would definitely for me as a tournament player, Drummond I have more interest in than Vooch. Vooch is a solid floor guy, but Drummond's the upside guy, like if he gets the minutes. And it's an unknown right now, but I mean, it's not like he hasn't played big minutes at all this year.
Can I break this one down really simply? They average the same number of points. They're the same price, but Vucevic is a cash game guy for me, and Drummond's the guy with more upside for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I also think if you don't like Drummond, I think you could definitely take a look at McGee.
All right. So most of you guys know Matt's a Cleveland guy. So you watch the Cavaliers nightly. For some reason, I've just ended up watching them a bunch lately too, because I've had some DFS pieces in exchange. He did not have a good game last time out. Drummond played a little bit more than he did. But there are games where Drummond's been losing favor in exchange for him. This is a guy who had massive GPP upside against Atlanta the other day. He was balling against Indiana on New Year's Eve before getting himself into massive foul trouble really, really quickly. He's also going to come in at what tonight? 2% ownership?
Yeah, something like that. I am more interested in Drummond tonight than I have in the past couple slates, though. I like Cleveland in this spot, like more than I've liked them in the past couple spots. I think that they play well here. I think this game's competitive, and that's all you can ask for Drummond. Still no guarantee, but we know he's got upside when he's playing well. I mean, that's not a question.
Yeah, we just the blocks and steals have come back to normal. The prices come down a little bit. Also, what's going to happen here is the ownership. I'm assuming
Yeah,
he's turned everybody off. So you were getting him at like 70% the other week, and now what's he going to be tonight? 10?
yeah, something like that. So yeah, that's why I'm interested. He's no lock. I'll say this: my favorite play from Cleveland in this game is going to be Colin Sexton.
Yeah, so I like Sexton a little bit last time out. Not enough to get him into my main lineup, but he was a guy that I was considering. I think I ended up going with RJ Barrett, which happened to work out for me for the day, but I do like Sexton here. He did not have a great game, but none of the peripherals showed up, which, again, he's not a monster peripheral guy. Is Garland out tonight, or is he?
Yes, he's out. Garland's out. Sexton played like shit last game. He had an awful first quarter. DK still has it from a couple days ago, but he's out. I definitely like Sexton here. You talk about minutes and usage and just shot attempts. I mean, he could be one of the leaders on the slate in all three of those.
Yeah, so I got a call just randomly all of a sudden noticing this. Again, if Fournier is out and knowing that Michael Carter-Williams is out, a deeper call for me is going to be Cole Anthony, who this kid's got some game to him. I like what I see. And for me, this is more of just a byproduct. If you could see some extra minutes today. Also, what have we been seeing all season long? Massive blowouts, right? This is a kid that if this game got a discrepancy in either direction, he could play 25, 26, 27 minutes. And without Michael Carter-Williams out there, that's the other guy who plays point guard with the exception of Markelle Fultz. Like, he wouldn't make an ideal cash lineup for me, but I'm thinking he's a guy that doesn't get a lot of love tonight. You know, he's a pay down option. And even on the games where he doesn't get extra run, he's routinely up at the 20-point threshold.
Yeah, he's fine. It depends on how you think this game plays out. I'll say Exum being out definitely doesn't hurt Sexton either, and does make me have interest in Chetty again.
Yeah, Chetty was the guy that we had as a long call or a long shot the other day. He came in off his best game of the year. He plays a little bit of a de facto, almost like point forward role. He's shooting the ball better the last couple of days, which is, something you can look for. It doesn't always mean that he's going to play well. Like, I liked RJ Barrett a lot the other day, mainly because he'd gotten his confidence back the game before. That doesn't mean that it works out. Sometimes he'll be right, sometimes he'll guess wrong, but I prefer that.
He also had shots like awful in the 3 games before that. He's a solid NBA player. Listen, he's obviously not a star. He's not close to even a fringe all-star, but he's a solid like bench player in the NBA. And when he's playing well, you see his upside as he just played. I have no problem going there today, mainly because I think he's a little bit overpriced at 5,500, yep. And he'll be under 1% owned. So, like, he's not an optimal type play, but you know where I'm going with that.
We saw Chetty with some extended success in times past before, and with all these guys being out, they're going to need him a little bit more. I'm with you.
I think this game is competitive, and if it's competitive, Sexton and Drummond are definitely the Cavs' 2 best players. But after that, like tonight, with no Okoro, Garland, Nance is better than Chetty, but I don't know. I think they're going to need Chetty to play well, I guess is my ultimate point.
Well, Nance is not a great offensive player, so exactly. They might need Chetty to take some threes and stuff like that. And again, these are all probably more along the GPP realm of things, guys, but I know that's what a lot of you guys play, so check it out.
And I'll say this, if you want a cheap guy, he started last game, Damian Dotson played well.
Yeah, he's a little bit more expensive this time out, so he's not quite the pay down option.
He's a lot more expensive.
25% more expensive. That is a big bump up.
So you're right, not interested.
All right. Washington against Philly. So I was looking over this game for a while this morning, and I got Westbrook, Beal, Tobias Harris, Rui, Embiid. I got a whole bunch of guys I consider in play right here, but nobody that I'm guaranteed to lock in. What were your thoughts overall? Because this is a game with some DFS appeal.
I feel similarly, if not the same to you, but my favorite is definitely Westbrook. And if I were to use one, it would be Westbrook.
I'm with you, because the thing about Westbrook is, he's played bad in some spots this year. He shot 28% last game, still got to 50 DK points. Shot 32% against Orlando, scored 57 points. shot 40% or 41% against Philly in the opener, got to 59 points. Like the high floor, but like one of these games,
Yes.
he's just going to go off and he's going to have 2 blocks. And he's going to grab 3 steals. He's going to triple-double. He's going to hit a couple of three-pointers randomly. He's going to score 30 real-life points if he's feeling it. And he's going to drop 75 DK points. Doesn't mean it's tonight, but it could be.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Oladipo a little bit, where he's just strolling into these solid, if not spectacular games. And one of these games, the massive one's coming.
Yeah, like I loved him the other day against Brooklyn. He played awful. He had 5 rebounds, which is like half of his normal. He never rebounded until I want to say in the middle of the third quarter, if I remember correctly. He shot 28%. He still had 50 points.
Exactly. He's definitely one of my favorite players on the slate. Like 100% one of my favorite players. I don't think he's a lock, but I like him a lot.
I got a couple point guards I like, and you guys can tell by the cover which is one of them, but that's the beauty of the guard position and utility position. You can roll a couple of point guards. Point guards and centers is where you want to be, right?
Yeah, this also like doesn't really matter, but I mean it kind of does. Like, and I know you'll appreciate this point, especially with all these blowouts. You know, NBA DFS is more of a crapshoot than it's ever been. There aren't many players that you can feel more comfortable rostering than Russell Westbrook.
I agree. This is another game with a pretty high total at about 233 right now. Philly's playing well, but Washington's getting better on most days. So then there's also like your Ben Simmons, your Embiids, and your Beals and stuff like that. I don't dislike any of them. I just don't know that I get to anybody besides Westbrook. Like I like Beal. I just don't think he's going to be a mainstay in my lineup.
Yeah, I don't think I could get to Beal here. But Embiid is, you know, like Westbrook and Embiid, the 2 best players, are my 2 favorite players in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. We have not seen a ton of upside from Embiid this year, but we know he's capable. He just hasn't had to a lot this year because like Tobias Harris has played well. Seth Curry's had his games and stuff like that. So Westbrook's my favorite, but there's about 6 or 7 guys that if somebody sent me a DM later in the day, can I play this guy? I'd be like, yeah, you can. You don't have to, but you definitely can.
If this were yesterday's slate, I would like this game a lot. But today's, I'm not so sure. There's a bunch of games on this slate to pick out.
Yeah, there's 11 games, and there's we got a couple of them coming up I don't love, but there's definitely some plays in this game I can get on board with. Now, there's definitely going to be some plays in the next game that I can get on board with as well, which is Charlotte against Atlanta. Not a lot of defense in this game. Definitely going to be a little bit more offensive-oriented. It's got another game with a very high total at about 232. Atlanta is projected to win by 6. And the key with Atlanta right here, guys, and if anybody's been watching them, they are really good offensively. Collins, Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Herter, these guys are all very good offensively. The problem is they don't play much in the way of defense. Now, a team like Charlotte, who can be all over the place with outside shooters like Rozier, Devontae Graham, obviously you guys know I like LaMelo Ball based on the cover. You just need them to make their shots. And if they do make their shots, this game has some game stack appeal. If they don't, Atlanta can run anybody out of the gym. So I'm picking on Atlanta a lot, but that's always a little bit of a worry with them. Because if Trae Young and Hunter or Reddish or Collins get going, they can run good teams out of the gym, much less a team like Charlotte.
Yeah, I definitely have that concern here for that Charlotte gets rolled.
It's a concern.
My biggest problem with this game, though, and I don't disagree with anything you said, is for me, it just looks better from a 30,000-foot view. Atlanta is a hard nut to crack right now. They just have a lot of good players. Charlotte, they don't have as many good players, but like they're kind of a similar team. Like they have a bunch of guys who do similar stuff. And I've heard LaMelo Ball all over today. I get the love. He makes a lot of sense. He's still probably too cheap.
Yeah, he's on today's salary, which is his largest, he's GPP valued 3 out of 4. Cash game valued against Memphis. And this was at Philly. Much harder place to play. At Dallas, much harder place to play. And that's the other thing. Like LaMelo Ball and why I like him over a Rozier, if you feel like Atlanta rolls, Ball's still playing. They're still getting this kid developed. This is the future of the franchise. He's going to see his minutes. He's got upside. He's pretty safe right now because he's played 27 minutes or more in the last 4 games. And as much as I liked Devontae Graham last year, he has done nothing to give me much encouragement that he's going to start rolling today. That being said, Devontae Graham is going to come in really low owned today, which if you're trying to pivot off of a chalkier LaMelo Ball, that's an interesting call.
It's a very interesting call.
I made 5 threes last game after shooting 2 of 20 the last 2.
Yes, making 5 threes and only getting 20 DK points is I mean, I can't do that. That's just not for me.
I get that. I mean, it's weird because they have 3 point guards, right?
Yeah. And it's definitely Ball. I mean, Ball and PJ Washington, the top 2 pieces from Charlotte.
So, again, I'm probably not going to get to Gordon Hayward in my main lineup tonight, but we also know this is a guy who's GPP capable, and he's got 47, 49, and 46 this year. This is a really good spot to get DFS points. If you think this game is competitive, this is a game that I think you could run 5-6 pieces deep on it, and if it's what you want it to be, guys making outside shots, a fast pace, guys are just balling, no defense, all offense. There could be 6-7 guys in this game that hit GPP upside.
I agree with that point. And Hayward, if you love this game, he's definitely in play because ultimately he's the best piece of Charlotte. Like if you like Charlotte to be competitive in this game, Hayward's their top piece always.
All right, you mentioned PJ Washington. He got going a little bit last game, got his rebounds, made a couple of threes. This is a guy that we were loving for 2 games as he dropped 40 back to back. He cooled off. Now he looks like he might be getting good again. Also, his salary is down, so you're getting him at $5K. Like if I was game stacking this game, like I would probably look at PJ Washington, probably going to go with Gordon Hayward, and then I'm going to pick one of the guards as well. So you can, I like LaMelo Ball, but if you like Terry Rozier, also going to be lower owned, very capable of monster GPP upside.
So if you're game stacking, who do you like from the Atlanta side?
Well, we know Trae Young's their best player. He is not a guy that we've seen throw out that massive GPP upside yet so far this year.
I do feel like, though, after those back-to-back bad losses at home, like I could see him making a statement today against a team that can't guard him.
Right. There's no Rondo. He's out for at least 3 games. It's possible that Bogdanovich won't play tonight, but I think I saw he's probable. So I would cross off this questionable.
Yeah.
I've liked what I've seen from DeAndre Hunter lately.
Yeah, definitely. It feels trappy, but definitely.
Right. I was a Cam Reddish guy to start the year, but Hunter I've watched a lot of Atlanta, and Hunter looks like the better player. He's had 33 plus in like 3 of the last 6 games.
He is their best wing defender also, so he's going to play a ton of minutes.
Yeah, they kind of need him. I probably wouldn't end up on John Collins, but I could see that. Clint Capella, everybody played him last night. He was okay, but he could definitely be better this game. The 31 minutes were still there.
Big men have feasted on Charlotte since the late 1800s, so I got no problem with Capella here.
Right, and so if you want to go with Capella right here, I could still get a Trae Young. So Trae Young, Hunter, Capella, and then I want to throw in a shooting guard or a LaMelo Ball. So, maybe you switch it up a little bit, but like Young, Hunter, Capella, Washington, Hayward, Rozier. Now what you're praying for is this game is 125 to 124. Guys are hitting their threes, but then casually turning it over as well. And if you somehow get overtime, I'll make those Johnny Manziel money signs right there because that's when you start winning big, big tournaments. And you can't plan on that, but I could see this game being competitive, but, that goes for most games on the slate.
I agree with you. It's definitely harder to do this on a full slate like this, though.
For sure. Definitely for sure. And for those of you who maybe don't catch our members-only videos as much, game stacking tends to be more appropriate on like a 4 or 5 game slate where you're hoping like 1 game just sucks, 2 games are blowouts, and you just need to pick the one that's super competitive.
Exactly.
But if I were to game stack a full game because of the prices and everything, this would be my favorite one on the board.
I agree with that. That is I agree with.
Yeah, you just need Atlanta can put up points, man, but they don't play any defense. So you just need Charlotte to make their outside shots. Devontae Graham had his moments, been inconsistent. Terry Rozier, same thing. We know, LaMelo Ball, kind of the same thing. Washington, Hayward, same thing. If they're making threes, though, this game, to me, is probably the most likely one on the slate to be 130 to 129.
I'll give you that. I agree.
Now, both of these teams are capable of sucking, more specifically Charlotte. So if you don't like it, don't play it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Boston, Miami. We got to wait about Marcus Smart. We got to wait on Jeff Teague. Peyton Pritchard was awesome last game. I don't like this game for DFS much at all, personally.
Same. One guy I kind of like from this game, and it's just we talk about him all the time in spots like this, is Jimmy Butler.
Okay, he's affordable.
He's affordable. We know who Butler is. Again, against OKC, that's not the spot we like him in. We've talked about that. Now against Boston, This is just I think this game should be very competitive between two of the better teams in the East. And anytime you get Butler, like he's very cheap in a spot like that, I'm interested.
Okay, so just backtrack for a second for those who don't watch us talk NBA all the time. Jimmy Butler is an odd cat. Like, this is a terrible game for DFS. It just is. These are two good defensive teams. However, a guy like Jimmy Butler, who's got that dog in him, specifically him as one of our favorite guys to do like this, you like him better in close competitive games against rivals. He has not shown much upside yet this year, but there's been blowouts and injuries, slower moving games. This could be the game where he plays 35 minutes and gives you 48 DK points at, he won't be unowned because he's cheap for his name, but like he's not going to be massive chalk or anything.
No, and there would be spots like last year, even a couple weeks ago, where he would be chalky, even on a slate like this at this price. People are off him. He hasn't played great this year, but again, you don't have to go that far back to show he's got upside. I mean, he had 7 steals against Orlando when he was healthy. The game against OKC obviously got out of hand. Boston's good. I expect this game to be close. This is a game Butler should thrive in. The more we talk about it, the more I like him.
And then as far as the rest of the guys on Boston go, we got to wait out everybody else. Marcus Smart and Jeff Teague being around make a big difference.
If those guys are out, do you like Pritchard at 4,600?
Not as much because Pritchard was great last game, but he was playing against a reeling Toronto team. Miami's not going to let him get into the paint the way that he was. They're both meh. I don't hate him, but I don't like him nearly as much as I did the other day where I used him in every single lineup.
I agree.
All right, so next up is New York against Utah. This is not a game that I like specifically, and a couple of reasons why. One, New York is a brand new team this year. They are playing really, really hard-nosed defense. Utah also played like garbage last night. And what I expect from them is them to kind of play a lot better defense today, as they just got lit up by the Nets without a lot of their best players. So for me, this is a slower, more defensive-oriented game that I'm not overly enticed by.
I'm not overly enticed by it. I don't disagree with your points. I think I might like it a little more than you. I think Gobert is in a good bounce-back spot. Even in the game script you just talked about, he fits well. I mean, he's a guy that can clean up inside, block shots, rebound. And then on the other side, I don't want to pay 95 for Randall, but Barrett with Burke still out. I mean, he's got to be in play for me still.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen it, Burks is out for like at least another week. It was announced this morning. So, obviously I'm very, very happy with Barrett because I used him everywhere the other day and he was great for me. He plays huge minutes. You mentioned this a couple slates ago, and I think it's really, really worth noting. Who's the coach in New York, Mr. Bellman?
Thibodeau.
Who loves to play their best players just buttloads of minutes?
Thibodeau.
Okay, so the last 4 games, RJ Barrett, let's go back 5, 6. He's played 37 or more minutes in every game. That doesn't mean success, but it is a lot easier to have success when you are playing monster minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a mathematician to figure out your odds of success playing 40 minutes is better than if you're playing 20.
I will say, though, I agree with you. I mostly agree with you. I think this game is a stay away just because of what you said. I think Utah comes out and plays well here, and not a game I'm overly excited about, even though I like the players in it, which sucks.
Yeah, they got embarrassed last night. Kyrie just lit them up.
Yeah.
Bruce Brown looked like a good NBA player in that game last night. Like, that was just an embarrassing performance by Utah. They were down 20 before anybody even had the opportunity to see what was going on. Frustrated game. And for a good team like Utah, I definitely think that they get back to their defensive ways tonight, at least for this one game.
Yeah, I loved Brooklyn in that spot last night. I think I said that on the video, and I like Utah a lot tonight in this game. So I'm with you.
Yeah, Kyrie, I'm not a Kyrie guy. And I started the write-up last night by putting Kyrie in the point guard position. And I said, I know you guys might be shocked to see me featuring Kyrie, which I almost never do. But he was awesome last night. And I'm a Kyrie hater, but he played phenomenal basketball last night.
Yes, he did.
He looked like something special. And that's the stuff you see from Kyrie that make people think he's just amazing. Because his skills, just skills pound for pound, are phenomenal.
For sure.
All right. Next up, Detroit against Milwaukee. So hear me out on this one. Let me know if you agree, disagree, or whatever you might think on this one. So Milwaukee kind of let them stick around the other day. And to give credit to Detroit, they let themselves stick around a little bit too by making their outside shots. I think they shot like 45% from three, if my memory serves me correctly. I think the Bucks roll tonight. I think they take the day off and be like, guys, there's no reason we should let this team stick around. And they kind of put the foot to the gas tonight and get this one over early. So it doesn't mean I'm right, but that's just personally how I feel about this game.
I don't have a strong feeling either way, but I do know I'm not really interested in this game from a DFS perspective.
I'll tell you, Giannis was awesome the other day. Scored 43 real-life points. Didn't really get his normal peripherals, but was just absolutely dominant. He's been really good 3 games in a row from a DFS perspective. He does have a floor associated with him, too, because if Milwaukee rolls, it's usually because he's doing something, but not a guy that I'm going to put in my cash lineup tonight.
No, I mean, he's always in play. And if you think Detroit hangs around here, do your thing. I mean, if you think Detroit hangs around, it's probably because like Derrick Rose played really well. And he did play really well last time out. So
very well.
If you like Giannis, I'd probably be considering Derrick Rose.
Another thing to watch is young rookie Killian Hayes is now out for a little bit of an extended period of time, which opens up those minutes. So a guy that was getting a ton of love last night was DeLon Wright. And then as the day progressed and people thought Rose was going to play, which he did, he definitely fell off the radar. He barely played at all, only playing 10 minutes. And he was only 10, 15% owned. So the public got wise to it and didn't play him. Well, with no Killian Hayes and Detroit not really having a clear path to what they're going to do, I would not be surprised to see him starting tonight.
I agree.
Or he doesn't play at all. I don't really know. It maybe part of it has to do with the availability of Josh Jackson. I'm not 100% sure. So I don't love this game, but I can see DeLon Wright being a thing.
I agree with both those points.
Blake Griffin is back tonight. I'm not really looking to use him, though. So, okay. Overall, I think we see this game pretty similar. We talked about some guys as deeper GPP plays in this game the other day. None of them ended up being great. Doesn't mean they couldn't be great today. And if you feel like they might roll, I'll make the same call. If you feel like Milwaukee could really roll, Jahlil Okafor could play a bunch of minutes. But you got to be ballsy. That is only in much, 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 much deeper tournaments.
Especially on a slate this size, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is like you play 150 lines, you play them twice.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. New Orleans against OKC. I'll stick with my standard words on Lonzo. On a day where his brother gets a lot more love, I could see playing him in GPPs. One of these days he's going to get one of those 4 or 5 steal games. And against a bad OKC team, that could be one of those days. He's been shooting the 3-ball well lately. I wouldn't put him in my cash lineup. But if you're looking for GPP upside, he owns it occasionally.
Yeah, he does. Hard to see me getting there over some other point guards we talked about, and another point guard in this game, Shai, who I'd like more than Lonzo. Still not sure I'd even get to him, but his price has really come down.
Yeah, we've noticed that OKC has been rolled big time in 2 of the last 3 games. They're not a very good basketball team, and that's the hardest thing about rostering Shai is you need all 4 quarters. And they're just not very talented right now. They have 4,000 draft picks over the next 3 years, so they're going to get better. But they're going to have some real growing pains this year, which is why on an 11-game slate, it's tough to look at them some days.
Yeah, I would be looking at like a Shai and Ingram if I were to play Shai.
Yeah, this would be one of those things like I would rather pick a couple pieces from one game, from this game, maybe in a GPP, but in a cash game, I got more pieces that I like to want to play anyone from this one.
I agree. I just think in tournaments, Shai has big upside at 7,300, and he's not going to be owned.
Yeah, your boy Darius Baisley shows upside too. So, if you're playing Shai and Brandon Ingram, and you want to go like Baisley, Shai, Brandon Ingram, and Eric Bledsoe or Lonzo Ball, whoever else, and play this game to be close, I could get on board. I know you're a Baisley guy, and if this game's competitive and he plays 30-some minutes, we just saw him drop 41 in Orlando. We saw him drop 35.5 points in 26 minutes against a really good Miami team.
And this game will be unowned.
Yeah, so that's another guy I can get on board with, but it's definitely more on the GPP side of things.
Yeah, and it's definitely not my favorite game. I don't want to get it twisted. So I think there's some appeal in those guys because of their price tags, but I'm not excited about it.
And you could throw George Hill in there now that he's back down to 4,500. If you play this game to be competitive, George Hill and Shai and Baisley probably played well.
For sure. No doubt about that. Even Al Horford.
Sure. There's not a ton of pay down options early in the day yet.
There's a few I like in the later game or in the second to last game, but we'll get there.
All right. So we got Phoenix against Toronto. As it stands right now, Toronto has moved from a bad matchup to a team that's not too bad to pick on so far this year. And Phoenix, who we've been picking on for years, is now slow and plays pretty good defense.
Yes. Really not interested in too much from this game at all. Van Vliet's balling right now, so kind of like Brogdon, if you want to just ride that. I get it.
Yeah, he'll come back down to earth, but hot's hot, and he's playing really well. It's a bad spot for him, but with the way he's been playing, if you just want to ride a hot hand, I'm on board as well.
And I don't hate Chris Paul, but at the end of the day, in one lineup, I wouldn't use anyone from this game.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned Chris Paul because he was a guy I rarely play, and maybe I got a soft spot since I never play Kyrie, and he was good for me last night that I'm looking at Chris Paul, but he's gotten a little better now.
Yeah.
4 straight games. I think you get him at like no ownership. And I don't think everybody, because for years now, you haven't really wanted to pick on Toronto unless you had to, but they've been very pickable on lately. And I think Chris Paul could get you 45 today reasonably.
I don't hate that call at all.
And then I don't think he gets much love at all.
I agree.
So he wouldn't make my cash lineup, but I can get on board. I love Devin Booker, but he has given me no reason to play him yet this year.
Not at all.
All right. Clippers against Golden State. So I guess the big elephant in the room is probably not getting Kawhi tonight, I'm guessing.
I'm seeing him doubtful.
Well, he hasn't played a lot of back-to-back, so I would tend to think that. Is Paul George's injury real, or is he going to play today? I have no idea.
No idea. But even with just Kawhi out, I mean, you've got like Lou Williams, who finally played decent last night. I mean, Batum. This game has got to be my favorite game of the night.
Okay. It's difficult to talk into too much detail about the Clippers without knowing about Paul George and or Kawhi. But let's say both of those guys are out. Well, Lou Williams is just going to be a staple of every one of my lineups.
And Pat Beverly.
Yeah, Beverly was hot last night.
Yeah, I forgot. He always balls against the Spurs.
So, I mean, he had himself a game last night. He ain't a great three-point shooter, but he was last night. He was awesome. I was just sitting there looking at him 12Xing like, I didn't even look at you today.
Same. It's almost one of those feelings like I feel better about it because, dude, I didn't even think about you. I heard his name once mentioned and didn't even think twice about it. I'll say, though, this game, especially if both these guys are out, I think this game could be real competitive. Talk about game stacks. And Golden State's not very good. I think you could look at a lot of pieces from this game, and they're not going to be that expensive besides Curry if those guys are out.
Right, so spend your day paying attention because if Paul George plays and it was just a BS injury because they wanted to rest him but not have the bad look, then I love Paul George again.
Yes.
We liked him yesterday. He didn't play. Fortunately, I couldn't quite fit him into my main lineup, so I ended up using Zach LaVine, who was okay, just because he fit. But I still liked him before the game started. It just that injury seemed to kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem kind of to me like they're going to rest Kawhi today, and Paul George will play. And I'm with you. I like Paul George a lot here. You tell me Paul George against Golden State, no Kawhi, yeah. Also like Ibaka, Batum. I think all these guys, they didn't play well last night. They got down big, and in the second half, Beverly and Kawhi did everything. Batum
Kawhi had a great third quarter.
Yeah, Kawhi had a really good third quarter. So, I mean, I like this whole game.
Yeah, Batum's a guy that, I put him in the write-up again yesterday. I said it's not the sexiest play in the world. He's not a great offensive player, but he has the ball a lot. He plays big minutes. And there are days where he hits a couple threes. He's capable of steals and blocks. He can run into DFS points. And again, he probably wouldn't make my ideal lineup again today, but he has had really good GPP upside twice this year. And other than the game against Dallas where they got flat out rolled, he almost always at least gets them at 20 points.
Yeah, I think he's a solid filler.
And then Luke Kennard, if both of those dudes are out, I mean, then I definitely like Luke Kennard because he is offense capable.
Yeah, I like all those guys as fillers then. I mean, all of them.
Well, and then too, you could have 3 guys from this game at sub 5K.
Yeah.
and then you could load up on Russell Westbrook, whoever else it is that you're looking at too at bigger money.
It's a good spot for the Clippers.
Yeah, and the other thing about like Batum too, like he's forward eligible, which can be really big today.
For sure. Definitely something to just keep your, nose to the ground on, or ears to the ground on.
So here's one for you. Curry or Westbrook?
Oh, man. I like Westbrook slightly more, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the answer could be either of them. Curry's been hot the last 2 days, but he does now have to deal with tenacious Beverly defense and stuff like that. They're going to probably try to make the ball get out of his hand a little bit.
I'll probably have exposure to both, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. The hardest part is you might like both of them, but playing both of these guards. Okay, Curry, Trae Young, Westbrook, rank them.
That's a good one, man. Damn, dude.
Price isn't even a factor.
Yeah, no, price, they're like all basically the same price. It's weird because I like Westbrook the most, but I don't like that. I like his game the least. So it provides like a tricky element to me. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And my honest gut feeling on this one. So I did a write-up a while back, and it was like Westbrook. No, Beal, Jokic. There was 3 studs, and I ranked them. But I said it was really close, and they all finished within like 3 points of each other, where like I spent the day thinking about it, and it didn't matter. Like there's a good opportunity that's what happens with 3 guys tonight. Like they all score within 5 points of each other, or pretty close.
Sure. Or one of them does like 20 better than the other 2.
Yeah, so I'm probably with you. I like Westbrook because I think the floor is so replicable, but I know like the upside is going to come one of these days. But he's also not in the easiest matchup where Trae Young probably is. Curry's been so hot. That's a tough one. I don't even have a good answer for you. That's my question.
Yeah, it is a tough question for sure. Ooh, man, I like those hot ones.
So here's another one that I think maybe can go a little under the radar today, and he has power forward eligibility. Donkey from Shrek, I mean Draymond Green, if you haven't seen that meme, he does look like Donkey from Shrek. He started playing better last game. You saw him with 5, 5, and 5, couple of steals. But he didn't get major DFS points they just rolled in this one. But he did play 28 minutes against Portland. So it is possible you could get Draymond Green at 5,200 in a game that could be competitive. And he could play 30 minutes today as he's a little bit more warmed up, but didn't need to play those minutes last game.
Draymond or Chetty?
For me, Draymond, because I know he has made 1 field goal these first 3 games. He's not a 30-point per game guy, but one of these days he's going to score 10 real-life points, get 10 assists. I wouldn't be surprised if he does 10, 10, 10 today.
That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either.
He still is their second-best player with Clay out. He's been out for a while.
Truth.
Well, yeah, I hate Andrew Wiggins. Yes, Draymond's better.
Yeah, he's definitely better than Wiggins. And as far as NBA players go.
He can't score like Wiggins, but
a lot of people. Yeah, definitely. He's worth more to an NBA team than Wiggins by a lot, is how I view that.
I know it's early in the day, but I'm guessing if you heard any Draymond Green love.
Yeah, I just heard someone talk about him for a minute straight that really likes him.
Outside of me?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I think he could be a sneakier play tonight.
I get it. And I told you I like this game, so I'm on board.
Especially too, if Kawhi is out, their team defense is automatically weakened without having one of the better defenders in the game out there. I mean, if they're both out, then I'm almost worried Golden State rolls.
I am, but I'm not. I get why you're worried about that, but I respect the Clippers enough to play well, even if they're both out. But I also do expect Paul George to play here. And with no Kawhi, who I'm seeing doubtful at a couple spots, this game is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I also don't expect Kawhi to play, just to be clear. But, we'll have to watch that one for sure. And then I will like Paul George again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're giving me George, Draymond, and then you could throw a Kennard or a Batum in here, maybe an Ibaka or something like that. I could do a shorter game stack of this one as well.
For sure. I mean, I could do a bigger one personally.
And then if Westbrook, Paul George is a nice solid floor way to start your guards and an optimal lineup too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, let's move over to Sacramento, Chicago, which just from a point total is also one of the more desirable games on the slate. It's got a highish total. It's projected to be close. Both of these teams move at a pretty fast pace. Chicago's near the top. Sacramento is also within the top 10. So this is a game that's got a little bit of appeal as well. And I know he got a lot of it by 10 rebounds last night, but he's been rebounding pretty well. Our boy Kobe White's continuing to play better and better.
Yeah, I liked him a lot last night, and I like this game. I think that this game is going to go way under owned because it's the last game, and there's so many other games on the slate. It reminds me a bit of the Portland-Chicago game from last night, but even more so. Like, I don't see this game getting hardly any love at all.
I watched every minute of that Portland Bulls game last night, and I just want to say CJ McCollum looks smooth as butter this year so far. And again, it'll come back down to earth, but he is a joy to watch play basketball right now.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Just been something special. And Dame hasn't played his best basketball yet. I'm sure that's coming. He's probably still a little tired from carrying that team on his shoulders throughout the bubble. But CJ's been certainly impressive. And we did talk about Nurkic on that Showdown video. He definitely played a lot better last night as well.
Yeah, he definitely played a lot better last night. Covington played well for them too.
Yeah, and yet they lost to a Bulls team that's starting to play better and better.
They are. This is a bad spot for the Bulls, though.
It is. Back-to-back with travel, never a good spot. Not major travel, but travel nonetheless.
Yeah, against the Kings team that's pissed after losing getting rolled by Golden State and losing those 2 games to Houston. I'm a little worried the Kings roll here. I feel like I've had a good vibe on the Bulls so far this year. They've won 4 out of 5. This is a tough spot for them.
It's not ideal. And if that gets you off this game, I can understand it. You can always talk me into Harrison Barnes. He's a little bit more expensive now. I don't love that. So he's probably not going to be in my main lineup. We mentioned this on the show yesterday. It is really easy to get down on your guys when they don't have a good first quarter. I just want to mention Harrison Barnes had 1 rebound in the first quarter, didn't play in the fourth, but still had 33 points. Points can come in bunches. And when guys get confident and they start rolling, they get more aggressive. Jake Layman had a moment last night where I think he threw up like 10 points in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in like a bunch of, different discords and all that stuff where people are always tilting really early. I mean, even way worse than me. I know you think I'm bad, but I'm half kidding a lot of the times. And I don't even bother explaining it because it seems like a fool's errand. Like you know what I mean? It's so frustrating. You have to just let the game play and take its course.
I will say this about Barnes, though. If you have a lineup you love and you got 6,300 in a forward spot, you got to feel pretty warm and fuzzy about him getting you 30 most days.
Definitely. I think he's a fine filler. And the other thing I like about this game that adds a feather in the cap for me personally is it's a late game. So you get to wait out and you get to wait out the Paul George news and you get exposure there. Kobe White is high on my short list because I like the mid-tier a lot. I'm a huge fan of Kobe White. I like Oladipo slightly more than Kobe White, but they're both firmly in play for me.
And you know what I'm going to say?
Play both.
Play both. Also, they're still a little shorthanded in Chicago. Garrett Temple had his best game last night. Feeling probably a little bit more confident today. They're going to need some extra bodies. If you're looking for cap space, I don't love Garrett Temple, but I do enjoy the fact he's played between 20 and 28 minutes lately. He's got a veteran role on this team. And, of course, it's Garrett Temple Revenge Day.
When isn't it?
Yeah, he's played for every team, so it has to be, right?
It's funny. I was going to say Jabari Parker revenge. So, yeah, you beat me to it.
Is Parker still out tonight? I can't remember.
I don't know. Has he even played a game this year?
No, not really. Houston, Sacramento, San Antonio, Milwaukee, Charlotte, Washington, back to Sacramento, Memphis, the Clippers, Brooklyn, Chicago. Man, he's played for.
You talk about a career journeyman. He is the definition of that. You talk about those starting pitchers that we talk about. I can't remember who we were talking about that one time where that you made the parallel, but Garrett Temple's that guy.
For sure. And again, he's not a guy you set your lineups tonight, but very similar. If you end up at a forward spot, and the small forward eligibility is big right now because you usually want to spend up on some of these really good guards. But Garrett Temple's a guy I expect, 12 to 25 DK points tonight.
Yeah, I think he's a fine filler, no doubt.
Yeah, they're still shorthanded. No Hutchinson. I don't know when Markkanen's available. Yeah, he's not going to be on this road trip at all, so it doesn't matter. He's not playing tonight. It's boring, but he's out there.
No doubt about it.
I know you're a little worried about this game, but it's another game with, a little bit of game stack appeal.
Definitely. Like, I could also see a situation where Chicago gets up early and Sacramento is coming back.
How many times have we seen that on back-to-backs? And I know I pointed this out 2 years ago, and I watch it really closely. Back-to-backs work out in this same game script a lot. Not every time, of course, but like the team that played the night before, you got Chicago coming off of a good win, gets up early. I swear we saw this with Atlanta and Cleveland not too long ago. Then the team that didn't play the night before, they get it together at halftime. They have the extra energy, and they come back hard in the second half. Specifically, their best players, i.e. De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes.
Definitely. No doubt about that.
So Buddy Hield has been not great this year. And if you're looking for like a random GPP call, one of these games, dude's going to get hot from three-point range. He won't be in my lineup, but I'm just saying, like, it's going to happen one of these days.
No doubt about that.
So, okay. It's kind of a fool's errand to do a lot of lineup building early this morning. But, like, if we look through the point guards, it's deep again. We just mentioned Westbrook, Curry, Trae Young, De'Aaron Fox, Malcolm Brogdon, John Wall, Shai, Kobe White, both of the Ball brothers.
I like the mid-tier a lot on this slate. Like, you know how that goes for me. I like the mid-tier a lot. I got no problem using, like, all mid-tier. I just think that that's a route that I like to go a lot of times, and it looks good tonight. Talking about, like, Jimmy Butler and Oladipo, Colin Sexton. All three of those guys I like a lot.
See, we're usually on the same wavelength as far as liking the mid-tier, and then the problem comes out that, a bunch of guys are out.
For
and then
sure.
You get all these cheap plays, and then you end up going to the Westbrooks and the Currys of the world because all of a sudden you get all these cheap guys that are hard to avoid.
Especially if like PG and Kawhi are out. I agree with you because basketball is just, we talk about the projections. They're not always, they're never right, but it's the most projectable sport. So even like Giannis the past couple of days, or even tonight, if there's cheap 3,500 players that get like 30 DK points, it's likely that Giannis plus 3,500 guy that scores 30 outscores Oladipo and Butler.
Well, and this, like, I'll take the two of the cheap guys that were in my lineup last night were Juancho Hernan-Gomez, who was fantastic, and then Taurean Prince, who was a little bit of a letdown. A lot of that because he didn't have to play in the fourth quarter at all. But he still got to, I think, 13 points, with just over 3K. And while that's not great, you made the point, like, you pair him with a Giannis, and maybe you don't love Giannis, but then Giannis rolls into 55, 60 just on accident, and it just works out better.
Well, if that's the case, I like the two mid-tier. Like,
sure.
On the slate like this, you need the scrubs to do better than like Taurean Prince and Jeff Green did last night. And
sure.
Hernan-Gomez isn't throwing up 45 every day. So like in the scenario you said, where Giannis gets 55 and, Taurean Prince gets 13, that's 68 combined. I mean, I think Oladipo and Butler destroy that.
Potentially. And then there's also the background where it is a Hernan-Gomez night. And there's a night where Prince had a bunch of open three-pointers and some of those fall. So it's always that balancing act that becomes really, really difficult because you don't know when the scrubs are going to play well and when they're not.
No doubt about that.
I mean, there's always the risk of fading. And like, we almost always start the day enjoying the mid-tier. And then you're like, hey, guess what? Harden's not playing anymore. And then you have to get John Wall and Christian Wood in your lineup or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be flexible as far as NBA DFS goes.
So just kind of running back through the shooting guard position. Again, I don't hate Beal. He won't make it. I don't hate Levine. He won't make it. Van Vliet's been hot. Colin Sexton's been mentioned. Oladipo, Barrett, Kobe White, Terry Rozier. It is, as things stand early in the morning, a big-ass slate with a ton of really, really good plays.
Yes, and whenever you have 11-game slates, you're usually going to get that. So, I wouldn't worry too much about ownership, and I would just go with who you like, one of those type of slates, which I love.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't have anybody early in the day that I'm like, you have to play this guy in cash games right away because he's going to be super chalk and he's in a really, really, really good spot. I don't have any one of those so far to start today.
It's hard not to say Paul George is that guy, but
I mean, we're assuming he plays. He might actually be hurt.
Yeah, he might actually be hurt. So then it's hard not to say Lou Williams might not be that guy because with Kawhi out and PG potentially out, I don't know.
Guys, if Paul George and Kawhi are out, I know Lou Williams hasn't looked like Lou Williams to start the year, but like he's going to have to be Lou Williams tonight if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good spot for them too. Like it's a good spot for them to be without their two better players against Golden State, who they've played well recently, but I still think this game's competitive. No matter who the Clippers are rolling out there, I think it's competitive.
Lou's got a little contention with both of those guys too. If those guys are both out tonight and he gets to roll freely, like I think you're going to see the happiest Lou Williams you've seen in a while.
I have heard a lot of that contention though is like with Paul George, like they're fine with like Kawhi getting the extra, special treatment and all that, but not Paul George.
Well, he's just he's not a champion like Kawhi.
I mean, he's not. Yeah, I agree. So it's funny how the dynamics work. Who the hell knows if that's true or not? But it's fun to talk about.
Right, playoff P.
Yeah, well, it does look good this year though. It is interesting. Like to me, you mentioned like that injury he had came out like an hour before their game. Like what could have happened? I mean, I don't know.
Maybe they're just being hush hush, or maybe it's one of those things where they've gotten enough like shit from the league office. Like, hey. Like we said, no resting. Can you at least lie a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the vibe I think it is. Who knows?
Me too, but I don't know.
For sure. I mean, agreed. So just have to wait and see because still really early, especially there.
Maybe he did tweak something. Another guy that we barely touched on, though, like, what are your thoughts with no Killian Hayes with Josh Jackson tonight if he played?
I would have really liked it if Blake Griffin were out again. I'm a Jackson fan, and I'm fine with it. I like your Draymond Green call more, though.
Yeah, I am starting to vibe on the Draymond Green thing, and I'm going to kind of just keep looking at that one throughout the day. If he becomes chalky, then you probably want him in your cash lineup. If he's low owned, he can make some really intriguing GPP play.
I think people are mostly off him. I mean, you think about it, like you mentioned a guy like DeAndre Hunter. It's hard to use Draymond over Hunter right now, who's playing, 15 more minutes sometimes, some nights.
Guys, I like DeAndre Hunter today. I don't think we touched on this one enough. They're still without Gallo. There's no Rajon Rondo. You got Bogdanovic, probably not even 100% if he does play. I like Hunter a lot.
I got to imagine. I know you like Draymond, but in a cash line, you like Hunter more.
I mean, if I'm building mid-tier, there's a good opportunity for me to play both of them at the 3 and the 4.
For sure. I get that. I mean, those guys are even a little bit cheaper, so I'm with it.
And Hunter has shot the ball really well lately from 3, which won't keep up forever. But he's usually good for about 7 boards, 2 assists, a block and a steal, something like that. So he can still meander into at least a very decent baseline of points, even if he's not shooting the ball from 3 as well as he has been.
No doubt about that.
So that's it today, guys. Plan is, this is kind of like more of the members only build where we talk through everything. We'll still do the typical video in a couple hours after we kind of nail down who our favorites are and everything like that. But hopefully this was informative for you guys. And if you want to see this every single day, the link to the website is below. Don't forget I'm offering a $100 rebate to all new lifetime customers today. And let's go continue to hopefully help somebody else win a tournament tonight.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh, yeah. And even though we didn't do a contest today, please click the thumbs up button.
Please.